Okay, so picture this. You've got an everyday outdoor pond, right? Normal fish doing normal fish things, but hidden inside is a pretty amazing mystery. We're talking about a seemingly unlucky, literally trapped fish that somehow, against all odds, managed to become the absolute most beautiful creature in the entire pond. It's wild. This is a story about careful observation, weird environments, and some totally unexpected outcomes. Let's get right into it. So here's the big question for this explainer. Can accidental isolation actually trigger a physical glow-up? I mean, usually we think of isolation in the animal kingdom as this terribly negative thing, right? Depriving a creature of its social life. But what if we've got that completely backwards in certain situations? We're going to look at this accidental experiment that threw out some seriously unexpected results. Now, the source material we're looking at today comes from this incredibly detailed, long-running blog series called Notes-on-Fishkeeping. It's written by an author named Eng, and get this, the observation we're focusing on is logged as entry number 269. 269. When someone has documented that many entries about one specific pond, you know they know their baseline inside and out. So when they spot an anomaly, yeah, we should definitely pay attention. Section 1. A peculiar pond discovery, finding the anomaly in the outdoor pond. Okay, so Eng makes this note about one specific juvenile fish, and they wrote that it displays the most vibrant red coloration we've ever seen. Think about that for a second. This is coming from someone writing their 269th log entry. Out of the whole population of Jewel Cichlid swimming around in that pond, this one single juvenile just drastically, unbelievably outshone all the others. But to figure out why, we really have to look at its living situation. Section 2. The accidental introvert. The mechanics of an unintentional experiment. You see, this fish didn't just hit the genetic lottery. It actually had a completely bizarre living arrangement. Here's how it went down. First, when it was a tiny juvenile, it swam into the top basket of the outdoor pond, just seeking a little temporary shelter from the bigger guys. Perfectly normal. Over time, it just kind of hung out there, eating, growing steadily larger. But eventually, it hit this critical turning point. It literally grew too big to squeeze back through the mesh openings. So the exact same thing that offered it protection had basically trapped it in its own private, inescapable VIP suite. Section 3. Stress versus beauty. Comparing the environments. So now we're looking at a pretty stark contrast. On one side, you have the standard pond juveniles. They're swimming totally free in a shared environment, but they've just got, well, standard coloration, nothing special. On the flip side, we've got our accidental introvert, trapped, completely alone, yet rocking this insanely vibrant red. How in the world does being trapped in solitary confinement make you look vastly better than your free-swimming buddies? Well, the secret lies in avoiding the daily grind, the exhausting societal stressors of being a fish. Mostly, we're talking about competition for mates and competition for territory. Honestly, it's a lot like the constant, draining struggle of dating and trying to buy real estate. Down in the main pond, those juveniles are just constantly fighting for space and posturing for mates. But our trapped fish, because it was stuck up in that top basket, it completely bypassed all of that. It just existed, peacefully alone, without a care in the world. Section 4. Unlocking aesthetic potential. Forming a hypothesis from the anomaly. Now, if you only saw this happen once, you'd probably just shrug and call it a fluke, right? But Eng dug back into those massive fish-keeping archives and realized, wait, this is actually part of a pattern. Eng wrote, "We once isolated a large male, and it also grew exceptionally well, sporting bright, intense colors." That right there is huge. It builds perfectly on what we're seeing now. They had purposefully isolated a mature male in the past and saw the exact same incredible glow-up. The intense colors, the crazy growth, it was a perfect mirror of our accidental experiment in the pond basket. And that brings us to the big takeaway here, the grand synthesis. Removing stress may literally unlock full aesthetic potential. Eng points out that isolating juvenile Jewel Cichlids right as they're approaching maturity might actually be a game changer for them. When a living thing is totally freed from the relentless, just draining demands of its society, fighting for space, competing for attention, it does way more than just survive. It takes all of that saved up energy and channels it straight into pure physical vitality. Which leaves us with this final, super thought-provoking question. Is isolation the key to unlocking aesthetic potential? Eng wraps up the blog post by saying this is definitely something to explore later, and I really want to pass that thought on to you. Think about it. How much of an organism's energy, heck, maybe even our own energy, is spent just navigating the stressful environment around us? It's a really fascinating lens for looking at the natural world, and it was all sparked by one accidental introvert stuck in a pond basket. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep observing the world around you, and I'll catch you in the next one.